So the sheer ability to discuss what's happening and say, okay, in this scenario, this is how I reacted, and then have the time to ask, what was the reason for that? What brought me to that? What was I thinking? What was I feeling?
So reflection.
Yeah, what did I need? What did I need in that moment? Because there's always, for every behavior, there is a need. There is a need. We don't behave for the sake of behaving. That's not how we tick. Our behavior is telling us something. Our emotions are telling us something. There is actually a difference.
Hey friends, you're welcome back to another week on the She Strong podcast. My name is Courage. I am your host, and I'm really excited for today. Excited because I have a special guest with me in the studio. But if it is your first time hopping on here, this is that time where I get to encourage you to consider joining the community. It's like a full-fledged community. And if you're in Dubai, you can also look at some of our events that happen every single month. So hit that subscribe button, follow if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. This is a place you definitely want to be in. And today, as you can see by the title of the video, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence. And I have an amazing guest to help me, really talk about this. She is a certified emotional intelligence coach. She is also a certified master neuro-linguistic programming coach. I didn't get that wrong. She's a brand specialist. She is a brand strategist. She's into marketing. She's doing a lot of things. So I'm really excited for us to have this conversation because we're going to be talking about how to leverage your emotions to actually succeed and not just see them as a weakness. You can use them in your career, in your relationships, and also to foster good community for you and for the people around you. So Nancy, you are welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Courage. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy we finally made it because I feel like we've been on a roller coaster with the scheduling, with so many things, but I'm grateful that you're here.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I think I said some things about you, but I know there's so much more that I didn't cover. So would you just introduce yourself to us? Tell us where you're from, and if you're comfortable, how long you've been in Dubai, and anything else.
Sure, you did great actually. So you pretty much summed it up. I think maybe the one thing that you didn't say is that I'm a mother. I'm also a mom of 2 teenage boys. Wow. And one of whom is neurodiverse. Ooh. And so it brings a different perspective to parenthood, of course. And yeah, so I've been in Dubai actually it'll be 7 years in August. Wow. I can't believe it.
I know
we used to say it's only going to be 3, but we're still here. And so I am of Egyptian heritage, but I was born and raised in Canada. And I literally lived within a 10-kilometer radius all my life. So being in Dubai was my real first expatriate experience. Wow. And a very awakening one at that. So
yeah. So but how have you been liking it so far? Because I know we all have like different perspectives when it comes to Dubai.
Yeah, I would say that Dubai was a major awakening for me. I mean, I really, when I first got here, there was a lot of jaw-dropping moments.
I know.
Just some of the things that I'm not used to as a Canadian. I was really, and despite being of Arabic heritage, I think there was a lot that really surprised me when I first got here, and it was a difficult journey at the beginning, very difficult journey at the beginning, but it's been a beautiful one. Now that it's been 7 years, there's so much that I've learned about myself. There were new layers that I discovered that have taught me more about who I am and how I want to, be in the world.
Wow.
And so here we are. And today I would say Dubai feels like home in so many ways.
I love that.
Yeah, it's never going to be exactly where my family is, because I have such a big family in Montreal where I'm from, and friends. And so there is a community there, but I've built my community here as well. Yeah.
I love something that you said. I feel like with the people that I've gotten to talk about this with, like even on the podcast or outside, I think not just only Dubai, but I feel like when you leave your home country, there is this different version of you that you get to meet and you get to just grow and learn about, and it opens your eye up to like so much more that exists in the world that you didn't see in your small cubicle that you were in. So I love that. You saying that, I feel like so many people feel seen. I feel seen because I feel like I came into myself when I finally left my nest, or my mother's nest, and then I was able to see the world differently and just like meet new people and understand different things. Yeah,
of course. I think there's a a richness to being surrounded by different cultures and different mindsets. And Montreal is very much a very multicultural space. Dubai is multicultural in a different way because we're all bringing home with us. And so there was new learnings that I got from it, but it's all very, very good.
Yeah. So, but I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You said one of your sons is neurodivergent.
Yes.
Is that maybe something that encouraged you to go on the path of getting your certificate in that area?
No, actually, it's not, because it's something I discovered after the fact. And I also discovered that I myself am neurodivergent as well. So it's been a very interesting journey, but it's something that came after. However, the tools that I have from my emotional intelligence certifications and NLP have definitely been leveraged throughout this process.
But can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think so many people have heard it. I also just came in contact with that term I feel like a few months ago. And I was like, someone was giving an explanation of how it looks like to be that person. And then I was relating to some of the things that were there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of research on it. So for someone who doesn't know, like how I didn't know, like what is that? Like who is a neurodivergent person? Like,
oh my goodness, neurodiversity is a really big topic, and it's sometimes a controversial one. And I'm still learning. The truth is, I'm still learning because it is something that we've discovered very recently. But I would say to you that so far, what I understand from it, it's a level of sensitivity. It's at the core. There's sensitivity involved. So someone who is very sensitive about the world around them and responds to those stimulus around them in a different way. Also, what they say, and this is the tricky part, because neurodiversity isn't something that you can just look at the brain and go, oh, this is what it is. You can't take a blood test to figure out what it is. It's really about the behaviors that showcase themselves. And so, some of the information that I've been explained to by the therapists and doctors that I work with is really about, the dopamine levels and the serotonin. So certain hormones that fire more than others for people who are neurodiverse. So we tend to be a little bit harder on ourselves. We tend to be a little bit seeking those hits of joy from the maybe the
and
lacking
I think
dopamine.
We're a little bit too curious. Really too curious.
Maybe I don't know if it's curiosity so much, but I am definitely a very, very curious person. Always have been. And interestingly that you use that word, because curiosity is the number one skill in emotional intelligence. The number one skill.
Now let's talk about emotional intelligence for a little bit. What is it all about? Like you've gotten like a certificate in this thing. Like, first of all, what inspired you to want to go on this journey, and what is it all about? What do you do exactly in it?
Yeah. So going back to sensitivity, I've just always been quite the emotional person myself. And I think throughout my younger years, I didn't really think of it too much. I just was, as we do, grow up. You're growing up, you're dealing with all these new experiences, trying to figure out who you are in the world. But as I entered motherhood, as I entered marriage and then motherhood, every major milestone in my life, even in my career, I started to notice the triggers, the things that would affect me and how that would feel in my body and how it would express itself in my communication and in my relationships. And I got really curious. And through my children, I had one child who seemed a little bit less emotional, just not really. And then one who was very emotional and also very empathetic and compassionate. And I wondered, what is the difference between these two children? How could one come out this way, one come out that way? I would then also look at the people around me, the leaders, the entrepreneurs as I entered my career. And I would notice some people were doing really well in their careers, but weren't very intelligent, if I'm being honest. They didn't necessarily have the knowledge, but they had something else. And that thing was emotional intelligence.
Wow.
They knew how to navigate relationships and how to communicate in ways and bring people together in a way that just created success. Wow. So I became very curious about this thing called emotional intelligence, not just in the career space, but with my kids.
Yeah.
And then I went on a journey of research and reading and self-teaching, and then eventually decided I was going to start a program. I wanted to start a program for kids.
Wow. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're just talking about that some people were actually excelling. Like they were not maybe the most intelligent people in the room, but they knew what to do, and even maybe how to read people's actions and, you know, how they were behaving or how they were feeling. And they leveraged that to be able to use it, and it worked out for the good of the company or for their success at the end of the day. So what skills would you say an emotionally intelligent person has that they can actually use it to, you know, to hone in on success or something like that?
So first of all, emotional intelligence has two main competencies. It has the personal competency and it has the social competency. So it's all about recognizing and understanding your emotions and that of others, and then using that awareness to manage your behavior and your relationships. So awareness is a core aspect of emotional intelligence. The way we perceive ourselves, is it aligned with how other people perceive us? So there are certain tests and things that I do, or assessments that I do when I'm working with people to support them in figuring that out and being able to bridge that gap. Curiosity is another major, as we said before, is a major part of emotional intelligence. Being able to always be curious about our behavior and that of others, so that we're asking questions rather than making judgments or shedding blame or shaming people about the way that they behave. So those are two core components of emotional intelligence, both in leadership and at a personal level.
Awareness and curiosity.
Yes.
Now, there's something that I think someone made me to come to realization of a few weeks ago, because I was telling the person, like, I'm someone who's like, I love growth. Okay, but I'm also trying not to make it a master of my life, but I love learning. I'm very curious. I want to know a lot. If something sparks my curiosity, I'm going to do research. I'm going to find out. I want to find out. And I used to think for a very long time that's how everyone else functioned. It used to. So there was someone who told me, like, there's some people who are just okay. Like, they don't want to find out. They're just fine, you know. And it took, like, I feel like it was hard for me to reconcile that truth, because I get uncomfortable very, very quickly when I start getting too used to something. It's like my spirit, I would say, is longing for, like, okay, we've gotten this, but there's more for you to get. So start doing more, start, you know, learning more or something like that. But I realized that not so many people are like that. And for a while, like, it makes you feel like I'm a little bit different. Why do I function like this? And can you maybe just shed some light on that, you know?
So I think curiosity is a natural human thing, is to be curious. I mean, that's how we start to discover our worlds when we're children, is we start to explore, we start to try to understand, well, what's this, what's that? What do I use these hands for? How does this person react to me? I get curious about it, right? And it's something we have naturally. So do some people have more curiosity than others? Absolutely. Does curiosity equate emotional intelligence? No, it does not. Because that's remaining curious and putting yourself in a state of questions is a part of emotional intelligence, but it's also about then how do you respond to that curiosity in the scope of, you know, the dynamic of a group or within a relationship with an individual. That's also part of it. So there's one thing is your personal competency. The second thing is your ability to use that within your behavior management and your relationship management.
Because you can know and then you don't use it.
So many people read, do lots of like, you know, obsessed with learning. I'm one of those people. I love reading and learning. Do I actually take action with that? Not necessarily all the time, but that's where that, you know, taking what you know and applying it in your life. That's how it all comes 360. And that's the important part of closing the loop on your emotional intelligence.
That's good. That's good. Like, you learn, because I think that's something that we also have to challenge ourselves to do. Like, as much as I learn, because like I said, I'm always learning new things. Like, I'm inquisitive and I ask a lot of questions. So as much as possible, I'm trying to also apply that in my life. Like, I've learned this. Okay, so what do I do now? How do I apply it? So for me, I journal a lot, and I try to take action, more doing than just more thinking and sitting and, okay, I figured this out, but then what am I doing with it? So I really wanted us to talk about, you know, the awareness and the curiosity part. How can we use that properly, let's say in our relationships and also in our communities? Because I realized, like, we're going to talk about career a little bit later on, because I really think that's also part of this whole thing, especially for my audience. Like, the women who are like, they also want to grow in every area of their life. But something that I've realized is our relationships and our communities do matter. And this is where emotional intelligence, this is where it really thrives, because like you said, if you don't understand someone or you don't empathize with them in the right way, you might judge them for something that you didn't fully understand. So how can we use awareness and curiosity to foster more healthy relationships, like even within our friendships and with our relationships with our parents, our sisters, and all those things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the goal is always to be creating a space between our outside world, so stimulus, and our response. So there's a major difference between a response and a reaction. So something comes at you, you're married, you're at the office, whatever it may be, whatever the relationship may be, there will be stimulus that comes at you all day long.
Yeah.
You may have a certain belief system, right? We all have our filters. You may have a belief system that tells you that this stimulus is offensive, for example.
Yeah.
How do I make sure that upon receiving that stimulus, I am creating enough space between it and my response so that it's not a reaction, but it is a thought out, well-aligned, value-driven response. So that space between stimulus and response is where our power and where our freedom lies, and where our best relationships can exist.
Yeah.
So if we are able to, what am I doing with people? I'm trying to create. So if your stimulus and response space is this big, I'm trying to push it this way, push it this way, push it this way, until every time you receive a stimulus, you go, But that's not what we do.
That's not what we do. You're talking, I'm like, I don't think I do that all the time.
We get it. We go,
yeah. And we don't think about it. And I feel like that's why we say the wrong things and then we regret it later on.
So we need to broaden that space. And we can do that in many ways, but it's practice. It takes practice. It takes tools, and it takes retraining our brains to be able to create that space. So
can you just give us like a few ways we can use to be able to broaden that gap?
Yeah. So I think when you work with somebody, with a coach, one of the things I try to do is that we talk about all kinds of different scenarios in your life. So the sheer ability to discuss what's happening and say, okay, in this scenario, this is how I reacted, and then have the time to ask, what was the reason for that? What brought me to that? What was I thinking? What was I feeling?
So reflection.
Yeah, what did I need? What did I need in that moment? Because there's always, for every behavior, there is a need. There is a need. We don't behave for the sake of behaving. That's not how we tick. Our behavior is telling us something. Our emotions are telling us something. There is actually a difference between an emotion and a feeling.
Yeah.
An emotion is a natural thing. It's objective. It's universal across all humans.
Yes.
Something happens, we feel and we emote.
Yeah.
And this is physiological just as much as it is, psychological.
Yeah.
But a feeling is a subjective experience. When we attach a meaning to that emotion, then it becomes a feeling. And so in order for us to figure all that out, we need time to reflect on our day-to-day situations. But that's something that takes time. And then once we kind of get to know ourselves and that awareness starts to become real, then every day we start to embed practices like breathing, like journaling, which is what you're doing. I'm sure you discover something about yourself when you journal.
A lot of things.
I'm sure you do.
I was like, I didn't know that was there,
Yeah. Gratitude practice. There's something else that maybe from a neuroscientific perspective I'd like to share, which is the understanding of how our brain works. So when that stimulus comes to us and we start to feel those emotions, that's happening in the emotional center of our brain, which is sort of in the middle. There's this little part of the brain called the amygdala.
Oh, yeah.
Where all of this starts to fire. But in order for me to calm that amygdala down, I need to do something different physiologically.
Yeah.
I need to be able to bring it back to the thinking part of my brain, my prefrontal cortex. And in order to do that, there's little tricks. body movements that I can do that can shake me out of that.
Yeah.
I can also do something like multiplication.
What is that?
So what's 4 times 5?
Oh, okay.
20.
That multiplication.
That multiplication.
Wow.
Here's a chance to practice your multiplication
I
table.
know.
Why? What happens is because when you're telling your brain, think, logic, it forces you to come out of this place and into that one. Suddenly you're shifting, you're breaking the state.
Yeah.
You're breaking the state. And so these are practices that we teach ourselves, or to be able even to count as you breathe. You know, the square, I'm sure everyone has probably heard of the square technique of breathing, where you count for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, counting backwards, counting forwards. Anything that revolves around thinking, logic, will take you out of this state of a firing amygdala and into a thinking brain.
That's
and it kind
so
of
good.
slows the whole process down.
That's so good. There's something for me that I practice when someone comes at me or something comes at me. I stop for like a minute and I just count 1 to 3. Like literally just 1 to 3. Because if not, I feel like I wouldn't be able to organize my thoughts properly to give the right response. And also, usually sometimes I feel like when we fire back, we're usually talking from our own point of view, how we are feeling in the moment. And we haven't even taken our time to be like, where is this person coming from with that? Or even like, how do I really even feel about what they said? Do I really even care as much to give it this much, this much of myself away?
That's all curiosity.
Yeah, it's all curiosity. Yeah. But I also think it needs to be intentional. If you're not intentional about like even caring about the person next to you, I don't think you're gonna take time to be like, okay, let me breathe. Okay, let me stop for 1 to 3. I think some people, they're just like, okay, I'm just gonna give it away. You can't do this.
You have to care about this.
Yeah, you have to care.
You have to care about wanting better relationships. Otherwise, it's a moot point, right?
Yeah.
But setting those boundaries is important. You're not going to necessarily care about it with every single relationship that you have.
Yeah.
You're not. Once you have that practice,
once
you have that practice, it does become something that comes naturally to you the more you practice it, regardless of who you practice it with. But of course, there's going to be relationships where you are going to invest more time and energy than others.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing which relationship requires much of that and which one, less of it.
Of course.
Yeah. So let's just talk a little bit about, because I do know that people that are sensitive, let's put it like, are sensitive or maybe a little bit too in tuned with their emotions are sometimes labeled as weak people, or it's seen as a weakness. I don't know, like you're like African, even though you grew up in, from my background, like you showing emotion a lot of in so many other ways, it's seen as a weakness. And aside from my background, I realized being here and meeting other people from different cultures, I think it's a universal thing at this point. You just find a few different cultures that are like, okay, you can show your emotions and I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to label you as this and as that. And I really wanted us to talk about that just to shift someone's mindset or perspective, because for me, I've had to shift my mindset and perspective on this. I'm someone that I embrace my emotions so much right now. I think I even do it too much, and I don't know how, but I feel like I want to be in tune with that. Yes, I can be very strong, very, resilient, and I'm bold and all these things. But at the same time, I'm so in touch with how I'm feeling in the moment. And I don't want to keep it in, And I think being able to be in that state has led me to do so many things in my life that I don't think I would have been able to do them. So in other words, seeing my emotions differently has led me to have more success in some other areas of my life that I would have never thought about it. So let's just talk a little bit about that. How can someone rewire their brain not to think that me showing emotion or me being sensitive is a weakness and people are going to judge me for it, and instead leverage it and use it as a tool to be successful in some areas?
It is a tool and it is a superpower.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that that narrative still exists, but that's why I'm here.
It does.
And this is part of my message to the world.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that you have reached that point. So tap yourself on the back for that.
Yeah.
But let's shift the perspective. So think about it. How many adults do you know today, when you really when you sit down and reflect, how many adults do you know today that are struggling, whether it's in their relationships at a small scale or just, feeling down, feeling, that they're not getting what they want out of their life, maybe unfulfilled, maybe they are, not reaching certain goals, maybe they're not in deep connection the way that they want, they're lonely, whatever it may be. There's a lot of adults that almost got stuck with this mindset of pushing everything down, silencing the reality and the truth of how their emotions were being expressed in order to submit to the narrative of society and whomever sort of told them this is a weakness, and then today are now faced with this emotion that wants to come out, all this time has been held back, and now it's so much harder to do so because it was never given space to breathe and be.
Oh my God.
And so there's this, we think that we're going to be better for it, but the truth is it's going to come and bite you eventually.
Yes.
There is no denying it.
Yes.
Okay, it's inevitable that it's going to follow you because what we resist will persist.
Yes.
And so that's what happens. We resist these emotions and inevitably they turn into disease in our body. They either turn into
cancer.
It either turns into skin problems, it causes bone problems, it can be cancer, it can be a multitude of things. But when the body talks, it is way too late. You have, not too late, but you've waited too long.
And the truth is the body has even been speaking all along, but we don't pay attention to it and we don't listen to it.
And that often happens to us when we're hitting our 30s or 40s and our 50s. And it's unfortunate at that point to then, have to start to unpack it all. But it is work that we need to start to do. And that's why I always talk about the kids, the youth, being able to give them emotional language, being able to free them from this narrative of emotions are weak. It is a part of your human existence.
Yes.
We cannot keep denying it. We just need to give it space. And then what's going to eventually happen is this normalization of the emotion so much that it no longer has hold on us. But we're able to feel and go, okay, I know you, I recognize you, I get it. It is data. It is coming to tell me something.
Yes.
It is God's gift to me to be able to say, here's an emotion telling you something about what you need or what you are supposed to do or whatever. Take the information and use it. You don't have to dwell in it. An emotion doesn't need to become a mood. You don't want it to become a mood or an alter ego or some. That's not. You want to be able to take the data, recognize it, understand it, name it, claim it, tame it, and use it.
Yeah.
And that's it. But it's this narrative is destructive beyond measure. And we even see it now in the leadership around the world.
Yeah.
We have literally people that are leading countries that are still dealing with anger and sadness from their youth that has not been dealt with.
Yeah.
And leading with that.
And I think we have that narrative because we labeled emotions. This one is bad, this one is good. So if you're joyful, they're like, okay, she's okay. And if you feel a little bit of sadness or anger here and there, it's forbidden for you to get angry. But then the question is, like you said, name it, see it, recognize it, and then be like, but why am I angry? And then find out why you're angry. The thing is, you can feel your feelings, but you must not act on it. For me, that's how I live. Like, okay, I recognize you. I see you there. I just want you to come out, and then let me find out why you're here, and then do what I need to do after that. Yeah. But I mustn't just act out on, everything that I'm feeling, but I have to be able to know why it's there, why it's coming out, why am I feeling this way? Why did that thing affect me like this? So I feel like just changing it, don't label emotions, because I think that labeling is what is shifting so many things for us. Because it's bad, let me push it down. Because it's bad, let me not tell someone this is how I feel, but then it's not bad or good. It's the wheel of emotions.
That's right.
Find whatever that is and then bring it out.
There's no bad or good emotions.
Yeah.
They're all there for a reason. And if we look back from the beginning, anger was there for a reason. And if you look through history, sometimes you will find that anger was the reason for some of the most amazing either inventions or revolutions or movements throughout our history.
Yeah.
Because somebody was angry and realized there's a problem here.
Yeah, and
but they used it.
Yeah.
And they made a change. They became the change makers of the world.
Yeah.
So how could we turn anger into something bad? Yes. Can anger turn into something bad if we don't know how to use it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's why we need to be able to understand that emotion is coming to tell us something. There's always a reason for our behavior, and just get curious.
Yeah.
I beg you all, just get curious. Ask, what are the reasons? And sometimes the initial answers are not the real reason.
Yeah.
I got angry because of this and shit.
There's
Wait
something underneath that.
But what about this? What's important to you about that, and that? Okay. What's important about that? Keep digging until you unpack. And before you know it, you will know, if you ask enough questions, enough times, you will find out what the deep value that you hold is that drove that initial trigger and feeling, because it is our values that actually drive most of our behavior. It is our deep beliefs and values that drive those emotions and those feelings and eventually that behavior. So by uncovering that and taking the time to understand what things we value most, we are then able to get to the real answers.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the, I don't know if attributes is a word, some of the attributes of an emotionally mature person and an emotionally immature person? And what can they do to, maybe someone is emotionally immature, and just to maybe, if they're curious or want to, step one level up?
Yeah, come see me. If you want, we'll talk. Can definitely do that.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, I think, what I was talking about earlier. Really, for me, an emotionally mature person is somebody who gets curious before they judge, shame, or blame. Is someone who believes that everybody is doing the best with what they have. Can you imagine if all of us, when we open the door and walk out to start our day, we assume that everybody, or we believe that everybody is doing the best they can with what they have, rather than being like, this guy's an idiot. My God, I can't believe he thinks that makes sense. I can't believe he took that left turn that way. I can't believe this person. But we say to ourselves, okay, wait a second. This person's probably doing the best.
Yeah.
Maybe this person's having a bad day. Maybe I'm having it. Maybe I'm more triggered today.
Yeah. But there are some days that you were more triggered.
There are some days.
The person didn't really do anything. It just came off wrong on you.
We're all showing up, trying to do our best.
Yeah.
I mean, who's not?
Yeah.
So if we went out there with that belief, our world would change. We would see the light in people rather than their darkness, rather than what they're doing wrong. And that's going to shift your whole world.
And there's something that I always tell myself, I'm like, because it's true, like if you go into the world looking for, usually I say it in this way, if I go into the world looking for reasons why I don't fit in, I'll definitely find reasons for that.
Of course.
So it's the same, if you go into the world looking for reasons why, like this person, something is definitely wrong with them, you're going to find something wrong. But then if you're trying to find a light in them or something that, is good, you're going to find something good. So it just depends on us and how we decide to go around life,
Yeah, we got to believe in our humanity. We got to believe in humans. There's so much of this narrative now of like, oh my gosh, the end of the world is near, or like people are going down, and this thinking, but we need to, if only we were tapping into this mindset, and we were trying to understand why people behave the way that they do. And we would truly come into the world thinking positively about our humanity, believing that people, have more to give and have something to contribute and are there for a purpose and a reason, regardless of what that purpose or reason is.
And would you think because, okay, I don't know how I'm going to word this, because sometimes I feel like while we go around in the world, labeling things or labeling people or, responding in the way that we do, it's because I feel like deep down inside, many of us have more of a victim mentality than, okay, this happened to me. What am I going to do out of this? Okay, this person responded like this. Where were they coming from with this, But I think if maybe you're someone who's listening and you're like, okay, maybe I play the victim in everything that happens to me. Maybe just try shifting that, because I feel like when you shift that, it actually changes everything for you. Like even when someone hurts you, I think sometimes for us to be able to move on from that experience, we're just like, okay, they were the bad person, I'm the okay person. But if you can just switch your mindset, yes, okay, they hurt you, this is what happened, but what role did you play in that? Because definitely you had something to do with that. Like, even if we're not saying you did the same thing in the same way, but then there were some things that led up to what it led to. Yeah. And when you put yourself in that place of like, okay, I also had a hand to play in this. Okay, what am I going to do to come out of this from my own end and not label them? Because sometimes it's just a season. Maybe that was what was supposed to happen to you guys, to teach you something like this. So I think the victim mentality, if you can take it out, it will help you to be able to go into the world and show up better and also look at people in a better way.
Accountability is 100% an emotional mature trait. Imagine if, again, we all held ourselves accountable. If rather than blame, we always looked first at yourself. If you always look back at yourself and said, what role did I play in this situation?
Reflection.
Yeah, but hold yourself accountable for everything that happens in your world, in your sphere of existence for a reason. You somehow attracted this energy into your space. So if you attracted it into your space, it's coming to tell you something about you as well. So hold yourself accountable for everything. Hold yourself accountable for everything that's happening in the world, in fact. Seriously, can you imagine if I said to myself, well, what's happening in this region, this war has to do with me, without it becoming something that brings you down, but to be able to go, it's about being able to say, I play even the smallest of actions I take towards believing in humanity, in love, in appreciation of my brother and my sister will lead me. That effect propels and just and has an effect on everything around me in my sphere of existence, and it will impact that other person who has their own and before you know it, that vibration and that frequency touches more and more people. So we have more power than we think, and when we are not accountable, we're basically saying to ourselves, I'm powerless. You are disempowering yourself when you are in a victim mentality, when you blame and shame and point the finger at the other. So are you powerful? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, hold yourself accountable for everything that you do every single day.
Wow. I love that. I love that so much. And you said something that I just want to highlight on. When you said, most of the things that are happening to you attracted, or it's coming to you because, and I think in this day and age right now, when people say that, they feel bad about it, like I attracted this thing, or this is because of how I am, that's why this thing is coming at me. But like you said, if you look at it the other way around, I feel like if we change how we look at that, yes, you attracted it, yes, it might not have been the best situation ever, but then what is it teaching you? I think that's the thing we have to open our eyes to. This thing is here, it came here to teach me something, I have to learn it so I don't repeat the cycle again.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just a repetition of a cycle. Sometimes it's a call for help. Sometimes maybe you are the person that can support that situation. So just look at the world around you and say, how can I help? How can I be of service? Why is it here? What is it here to teach me? What role can I play to continue to contribute in the world in a positive way?
I love that. Now, can you tell us where we can find you? Like if someone wants to connect with you and just to be a part of whatever you're doing. First of all, tell us some of the things you're doing, maybe in your community here in Dubai, and how they can contact you or something. Let's say that, because I would love to come for one-on-one class with you right now. Of course.
I mean, I think my message to the world is really just to elevate emotional intelligence, to elevate EQ to IQ. Today, we're still teaching everybody that IQ is more important. I believe EQ is more important. And that's a message that I really want to share with the world. And I want to show them how much emotional intelligence can change their life. And so if they want to know more about that, they can either connect with me personally. So Nancy_Habashi, HABASHI.
It's going to be on the screen.
And then of course my business page, which is also about branding, because I leverage emotional intelligence in the work I do through brand strategies as well. You can find me at Inlight with an INLIGHT.consulting on Instagram.
I love that. So Nancy, what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I have ever received, I would say, came from my dad, who told me, be yourself. And when we're young, we don't necessarily even know what that means, because we don't even know who we are. But our parents, they see things, and that stayed with me, because I knew my dad saw the light in me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get emotional.
It's okay. We have to shoot.
Yeah. But he knew that only I have what's inside of me. That's my DNA.
Yeah.
Every little experience of who I am makes me and shapes me into who how I can contribute in the world. And he saw that in me, and he would tell me there's nobody that can go out into the world and be you. That is your gift. That is God's gift to you. So use it and take it and give it to other people. And the truth is that even now today, I am working on becoming more of myself, discovering more of myself and putting that out there, and not letting the outer noise that we all hear more so today than ever before get in the way, and trying to teach that to our kids. I said, don't let all the noise change you.
Don't conform.
No, you have an intuition. You have a voice inside of you speaking to you. That is who you are. Listen and behave aligned to your values. So important.
I love that so much. And I think it's a journey. It's a journey, and you keep learning, you keep growing 100%. Every single day. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Courage.
I can still see your eyes.
Listening. I love you, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy. But thank you so much for sharing. And I'm looking forward to seeing so much more people come into the awareness of, EQ and not just IQ, and just wanting to be more aware, wanting to be more curious, and just looking at their neighbor and being like, okay, this person is also a human being like me. Yes. I will, be kinder. And just like, how should I say it? We wanna be better people.
Yeah,
we wanna be better people.
Yes.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.